All right, Chalk Derby, we're back. U.S. Open week, lot to be excited about. First week, I'm bringing on a guest, my good friend Henry. We've known each other for a long time. He's kind of been a part of my golf love and been one of my friends who has kind of, I guess, gotten an interest in golf as well, and betting on golf as well, handicapping it as well for himself. And he's had some success in his own regard. So, Henry and I are always shooting the shit about, golf, and figured why not bring him on for my first guest, and why not bring him on for U.S. Open week. So got Henry here. Henry, welcome.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Of course, man. Of course.
Very excited for this week.
Yeah, man, I am too. So gonna be hard to focus tomorrow during
Not
the
much
day,
work
but
getting done too. Thursday and Friday, no way.
yeah, but we'll have to grind through that. So let's jump into things here quickly. It's late on Wednesday night. We have all the information I think we want, from a handicapping perspective. I always like waiting till Wednesday night for my DFS plays anyway, till I know all of the information out there, what the weather's going to look like, and all of that good stuff. So quickly, course preview. Most people know a lot about this, but by now, from if you're listening to other podcasts or not. So course preview: Country Club, Brookline, Mass is a historic piece of property, one of the original 5 founding members of the USGA. This will be the 4th time the U.S. Open has been held there. Previous winning scores are +12 by Francis Ouimet in a playoff with Harry Vardon, which some argue to be the greatest U.S. Open ever played. There's a movie about that. Look it up. Shia LaBeouf. Pretty good one. In 1968, Julius Boros, who I actually have never heard of, to be completely honest, won +9, also in a playoff. And in 1988, Curtis Strange, who I have heard of, beat Nick Faldo, also in a playoff, after finishing at -6. Hosted countless U.S. amateurs, most recently won by Matt Fitzpatrick. No Corey Connors, Scheffler, Schauffele, Zalatoris, Bryson, all participated in this U.S. amateur in 2013. So for course history truthers out there like myself, maybe worth noting of, take note of all of those guys except Bryson, because he sucks. The course will be playing as a par 70, little over 7,200 yards, bent POA greens, approximately 20% BOA, bent 80% POA. Rough is a mix of a bunch of different grasses. There's going to be hidden length in the course. There's 6 par 4s that are going to be playing over 475 yards. Thin fairways, 5-inch rough, fescue, lightning quick greens, and some of the smallest greens on tour, second behind Pebble. That'll be the main defense. Obviously, with the USGA, they're gonna have it playing firmer and faster than it normally even plays. So the over under for the Vegas is set for the winning score is 3.5. I was originally saying in my write-up that I thought -4, based off of, and Henry actually mentioned this, and it's a good point, based off of what we're seeing weather-wise Sunday, being cold, 55 degrees and windy, ball maybe not traveling as far on this long course. I could see there being some real carnage, and that -4, maybe, I guess what I'm trying to say is I would take the under at second glance of that 3.5 score. So I could see it being like a -2 or even a -3 winning score, but we'll see what happens. We'll see if the weather, what the weather holds, ends up looking like from what, we've originally looked at, and what, people like to listen to on Wednesday night is, I think there's a slight AM PM wave advantage. I don't think it will be as exaggerated as it has been in other competitions this year, because it's really wiped out the field at some of these other competitions. But yeah, that's pretty much that. So blind tee shots. Again, I said this, it's hard targeting any real particular stat this week. Like, I think obviously driving straight, like you want guys who drive the ball well, but at some point, all of these guys are going to be in the rough and they're going to be working for par. So, you know, there's things to consider there with, you know, being able to get up and down from around the green. So all that being said, Henry and I, we've got the board up here. We'll go range by range. And these projections I did for ownership were last night. I do a combination of a bunch of different sites, and then, you know, I make sure obviously everything adds up to 600 because, you know, we know how to do math here, and 600 is how all ownership projections should add up. So that is that. So again, this is adjusted based off of what I you know, have seen from all of the different sites out there that I sadly pay for. So, you know, I take a blend of that and I add it all up. So here it is. So we'll go range by range. Again, first range we'll do is the 10K range, and we got Scotty Scheffler at 11.3. We got JT at 10.9, Rahm at 10.8, Rory at 10.5, Cameron Smith at 10.2, and Colin Morikawa at 10. And because Henry's my guest, I'm going to give Henry the pleasure of going first. And I think he's going to talk about a guy that both of us are a little scared of dating this week.
Thank you, Kyle. So, I mean, the things that I based off in terms of the top tier guys, a couple of things that I based off my picks, and I guess just maybe not picks, but guys that scare me are, you know, like we talked about, you said the last day, that final day, you know, the weather conditions probably aren't going to play in a way in which a lot of golfers would like them to. You know, it's not going to be great for scoring.
Exactly.
And with that being said, and kind of how the last US Open shaped up and ended up, you know, one guy that scares me, and I think is pretty obvious, being that he won the US Open last year, is Jon Rahm.
Yeah,
I just think if Rahm is in it, so to speak, you know, somewhat a couple shots off, even 3-4 shots off, where, like you said, there could be a lot of carnage, I think he could be that guy to make a few big putts and maybe post like a -4, -5 score, just like he did last year.
yeah, I totally agree. And I think to add to that point, and I hate that I'm, you know, adding to it, because I like Rahm, but he's not one of my favorite golfers. I mean, he's incredible. He's great to watch, but he always has crap lines, and you don't like taking guys with crap lines. So that's why
Sometimes you have to, though.
Exactly. But
Yeah,
further to Henry's you know, point is what really makes Rahm great is his tee degree game, especially off the tee and approach, and especially off the tee and approach from 200, 175 plus, right? And if you know, I think I touched on this in the course write-up or the preview that I was just reading through. There's going to be 6 or 7 holes playing more than 475 yards, and they're all par 4s. So listen to this, right? And this is the opening 4 holes. I would be 25 over par after the first 4 holes. It's a par 4, 488 yards. It's a par 3, 215 yards, followed by a par 4, 499 yards, followed by another par 4, 493 yards. So the first 3
sounds like
holes,
a nightmare.
the first 3 holes, you're hitting 175 yards, probably approach shots into the green. And, you know, go a little further into this. If you keep going here into like further on into the holes, it actually gets a little shorter after that for the rest of the front 9, other than the par 5/8, which is 557. But then back on the, it gets right back to the long par 4s on the back. So you got a par 4 10th, 499, par 4 12th, 473, par 413, 450. Not, I mean, that's long, but not 470 plus. And then the par 5, 619, which they can play it to 640, is 3 tiers. It's uphill and then it's uphill again. So that could be playing if they extend it to 640, like 670
I
yards.
mean, let's just say it would take me 5 shots to get to the green.
I would,
on that front
yeah.
nine.
I mean, if I teed off on Thursday, I might finish that hole on Sunday.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
you know, so and then guess what? After that 619 to 640 yard par 5, you get a 510 yard par 4.
beautiful.
Then you finish with a par 4 that's 451 yards. That's going to play longer than it actually is laid out.
The last thing I wanted to say to you, Kyle, about Rahm is, you know, aside from the fact that he could smash the ball and drives the ball pretty well and fits, you know, all of those categories driving wise, he might have some of the softest hands on tour
Oh,
as well.
yeah.
He's dialed in on these small greens. I mean, he's one guy that I would just be scared of actually, you know, putting himself in position to birdie holes, whereas other people are probably just trying to save par.
Yeah, and if I mean it's right, this is I guess you could say it's shorter US Open because it's 7,200. And last year it was a 7,600 yard US Open, and then the PGA was a par 70, 7,500. But this course, and you touched on it, especially on Sunday, if the temperature gets cold, it will play longer than that.
You also have to figure he's probably, just from a mental standpoint, I'm sure he's kind of fired up about, you know, and he's looking for some revenge in the sense that he was holding that #1 spot last year, and now everybody's focusing their attention to Mr. Scotty being #1, and it's like I think Rahm's pretty hungry to get back there, and
also defend the title. He's got to be hungry. He's got to be hungry to defend the title too.
Right, that too. And then just I'll totally let you take over here, but just 2 more guys that I want to mention that I'm sure you could speak on. The obvious one, I don't really have much to say about him. I think it's all kind of just how you see it at face value is, I think Rory. I mean, Rory drives the ball beautifully. He drives it straight. He smashes it. And he's showing shades to me of like the old Rory that we haven't seen in a while. He looked super confident. He was so impressive last week. He didn't get rattled when he dropped 2 strokes on 2 consecutive holes.
He went bogey and then went birdie to finish.
Yeah. And he looked great doing it too. And then the last guy from that tier, I'm not overcomplicating it. You know, I'm not here to say that Scotty Scheffler's not the right bet by any means. He's playing unreal golf. You know, we can't forget that he's still in great form, but you know, and you kind of gave me some good insight on this, but if you want to talk about somebody who, if they're creeping around, has literally shown, you know, the ability to win in tough conditions in not so low scoring rounds, not only one time, but twice. And I think one time was actually when he finished, I think his final score was maybe below par, and that's Brooks, who I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to, but he could be scary and you could really hit the jackpot with whatever his, I'm sure, pricing is and whatever his outright value is as well.
Yeah, so Brooks is a little further down, and we always talk about this, and I think historically, from us anyway, we've made money betting on Brooks.
Yeah.
Recently, not as much, but
not as much.
We nailed him at Waste Management last year at a big number.
Yes, we did. 4 consecutive days live.
Yeah. We've had him at majors before that he's won. He was one of the original guys when I started doing this that I liked betting.
I mean, you were Team Brooks from the start before anybody.
I've been a big Team Brooks guy, and I hope he's not going to the Live. If he goes to the Live,
you had to have won at least 2 of those on him of his majors. I'm sure you won either 2 or 3.
Yeah, I wasn't doing DFS back then, but I think I had 1 or 2 outrights on Brooks. And I mean, we used to just joke there was, you know, he was basically a automatic top 10 at a major.
He really was. And it's
and even last year in a down year, people forget that he had 2 top 10s.
Top 10s.
And one of them was
wasn't
one of them was a runner. Was he runner up at
PGA, I think, to
PGA?
Phil. He
Yeah.
was in the final group with Phil.
Final group
And
with
we
Phil.
both could have sworn that like he was a lock against
And we
Phil in
had
that
him at
final day.
55. We had him at
Oh
50.
yeah.
That
Oh,
was
yeah.
another. He was a fat
I
odd.
mean,
That
frickin' Phil
and you know what,
Mickelson.
Henry? What was his line then? That tournament, it was 50-1. He's 55-1 right now.
Oh yeah.
And he had no form
yeah.
going into that PGA, and he's got no
No.
form coming into here. And
I mean, the guy's just a baller. He
And
just
what I
shows up for majors.
and the one thing I'll tell you is the guy, I think his name is Dollar Gained on Twitter. Shout out to him that I follow, he writes some great stuff. I'll figure out if that's his right Twitter or not. He's at the country club this week, and he's following guys out there, and he said, he's gonna, obviously weigh his model more than anything else, but he said from his eye test, a guy that he saw that was impressing him and that stood out to him, and was Brooks. And he's a guy whose opinion I respect. He writes these great articles
and
every single week.
You know what the thing of it is too, is like hearing that is terrifying in
Terrifying.
itself. And then also realizing and being pretty confident just how, most US Open tournaments have shaped up in the past, and just being that this course is going to be difficult. The final day is going to be tough. If there's one player on tour over the past years, even if he's not in great form, that could like totally just outwill you mentally and physically.
I mean, that's a great point.
I mean,
that is a great point.
If he's
you know what, he was top 10 at the US Open last year too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, the guy just he wants to win majors. He might as well take a vacation throughout the season for any other tournament other than the 4 majors, because I mean, when it comes major time, he's showing up. And to hear that from that guy, I'm probably not going to be able to fall asleep tonight without putting some sort of money.
So you're spot on, and it's so funny because I didn't even want to bring it up to you when we talked beforehand. I said, who's one guy who
also he's 50. You're saying again,
to 1. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a great time to take him when he's not in form.
And he said it, whatever he said was spot on. Like, you could at least lie with betting on him, knowing that, you don't have to if you're looking for a decent profit, you do not have to put that much on him.
No, and he's 8,700 in DraftKings, and he's going to be played 6.5% of the lineups. He's in the bad wave, but the bad wave, like I was saying before, I don't think it's going to be as it's not going to wipe out half the field.
Especially if nobody's going that low in the AM wave as well.
And I was just going to say, Brooks kind of just plays well in those types of conditions anyway, so he could be a guy that, regardless, like a JT at the JT at the PGA, who was on the bad side and still got through and won. So, all it takes for one of these guys in the bad wave, and this is the perfect point that you were getting at, is to get through. Because if things on Sunday go to shit and the cuts plus let's say the cuts +4 or whatever, and going into Sunday, maybe the leaders are -2, and then Sunday ends up being a type of day where guys are struggling to hold on. You could have a Brooks who gets in it. He shoots 3 or 4 under, and he starts the day at 3 over. He gets in at 1 under, shit hits the fan, and maybe, he wins or he's in a playoff or whatever. So
just thinking back to the last US Open where like a lot of guys faded, and then I haven't seen a board in terms of like names. I haven't seen a board like I saw at the last US Open. Any one of those guys.
We talked about this.
So cool.
Minus Phil winning last year, I thought the best tournament was the US, because Phil winning was so crazy. It was the best in my mind last year. But the best, like you said, leaderboard was probably that US Open here. There was a point.
It had to have had like 7 of the top 10 guys,
and any of them could have won.
So I could totally, and that's why like it's hard to pick one, but like maybe in some cases like going for longer shots could be the play. But like you have to think, if it is tight on that last day, you have to go with what and you have to go with the guys who have shown that they could win and could will their way to the finish line. And I just think if you were to take three guys from that top tier, and not counting Scheffler right now, but like you went Brooks, Rahm, Rory, with everything considered, I think you'd be putting yourself in a pretty good position. And
Yeah,
that's
I
just
mean,
my opinion. And I mean, the Brooks one, wow, if he's a bet this weekend, seeing him win, seeing that cash, feel like a genius.
yeah, right. And that's the thing. And you said all the right things, because you could throw $10 on him and the
Oh, yeah.
return's 550 this week.
That's massive.
So like, do you really feel that dumb throwing $10 on a guy who's won two US Opens already?
The only thing I'll be asking myself is why I didn't throw more if he does. That's the only question I'll be asking.
Dude, we've just been on this train so long that we can't get off of it. And look, I actually do.
And we're right back on it.
And all jokes aside, though, I think he's everything you said. It's not like you're betting him at 10-1. You know what I mean? It's not like you're like, oh, like let me get an out of form Brooks. You're getting him at 55-1, which is insane. So okay, let's move on from Brooks.
Yeah,
we've gassed him up plenty, and
I mean, if anybody's watching this and they didn't go for Brooks, then I don't know what else I can say.
Yeah, there's nothing else. There's nothing else that could be done. So you said Rory is going to be chalky, but I love it. I mean, right?
I think at this point, the way he's
the right chalk, right?
Yeah.
So he makes sense, right? And he's cheaper than
what he's won 2 US Opens as well, right? In the past, he's won 1 or 2 US Opens in the past.
He won a Congressional and he ran away. It was the best 4 rounds. He says this, quote unquote, from Rory, is the best 4 rounds of golf he's ever played.
Well, I believe him, because he's looking much like himself.
That was, of course, Congressional, also in the Northeast. If you want to get into sort of like narrative, like Northeast, he plays Northeast course as well, or whatever. He also plays most courses well, since he hits the ball. Like, there was one drive, and then we'll move on.
3,000 yards.
I don't know if you were. Did you watch you watched some of it? I'm sure, but I'm curious if you were watching the hole where JT and Finau hit like 300 something yard drives. This hole was playing.
Oh, and he hit like a 375 yard drive
into the front. He hit it into the front bunker of the hole.
Yeah, and literally you see JT and Finau next to each other, and then you see Rory up ahead of them. I thought he was on another hole.
Yeah, or he had already hit his second shot.
I mean, I thought he was finished with the hole and waiting for them. We're on another one. I don't know what was going on.
And then he gets up and down for birdie on that. So okay, we'll move on.
And the last thing I'll say is I'm not the biggest Rory fan. What I will say is, like, and you were kind of hitting on it too. Like, I'm not the biggest Rory and Rahm fan, but like you find yourself winning bets on guys that you don't necessarily like, because then you take the emotional aspect out of it.
You're right. And we always talk about this, right? Like there's a lot of guys. That's a very good point, especially for a week like this, when it's a milli maker and you're going against 200,000 other people. Like it's just.
I forgot what the board looked like, but correct me if I'm wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if Rahm's value and ownership on the board isn't as high as it probably was last year or earlier on this year, just given how Scheffler and other guys owned.
So, I mean, if this was the first major of the year, I think Scheffler was the most expensive at the PGA, but at the Players, Rahm was the most expensive.
For sure.
So, yeah, Rahm was, and Morikawa was way more expensive, and that's a guy I wanted to quickly talk about that. Funnily enough, and this is, I don't know if I told you this in the preview or not, so you might react to this and laugh a little bit, but there's been this thing, he got interviewed, and he normally is a guy who hits, he draws the ball, and apparently he said, for some reason this week, he's been hitting the ball a few weeks now, he's been hitting the ball the other way. So he's just going to kind of go with it. So so that's funny, but listen to this now. There was the exact same interview and rumor last year. He was quoted saying the exact same thing before guess what championship?
Who is this again?
Colin Morikawa. Before the Open, he was quoted saying the exact same thing. He was
Oh
starting
my
to hit his,
God.
and so that's where I'm saying the bullshit on the whatever he's saying. And he's 10,000.
This guy's basically saying, like, I'm just gonna unload a bunch of bullshit on you guys and win this
Is that
tournament.
what is it? Okay, so here's the bullshit meters.
That's
right
like
there.
code for like, I'm just like not really sure how my game
You
is
got
right now,
Spieth
and I'm
with the
doing
fake.
different things.
Spieth's
but
got
I'm
the
gonna win.
fake stomach bug we were talking about to
Yeah.
take pressure off of himself.
Yeah.
Morikawa is hitting the ball the opposite way.
Oh, fucking playing mind games with him. Also, by the way, I don't know if you heard about this, just to go off topic a little bit. I absolutely love the tension between the guys who are on the PGA
Love it.
versus the guys who moved over to the Live. But supposedly, for anybody who doesn't know this, and I'm sure all these golf heads do know this already and are well aware, supposedly Spieth went to the range and it was like Horschel, Na, and Gooch, and they were like they were practicing their irons or driving the ball. And Spieth went up to Horschel and he was like, "Congratulations on, the memorial, like, hope all is well and like play well this week." And supposedly he made eye contact with Na, and Na like gave him a head nod, and Spieth just like ignored him and walked away.
I actually didn't hear that, so I love.
I mean, dude, I fucking love Jordan. Honestly,
I love the knowledge you just dropped, and that might make me want to just play him regardless of the stuff. You actually
golfers gonna start fist fighting on the course.
You
like,
actually liked him, and I do. Let's take the stomach bug away for a
I
second.
know.
Because he was nailing the ball. He's been killing the ball tee to green. The one thing with him, and I'll let you talk about it for a second, but the one thing with him that I'll say that scares me before you take over, these 4-foot putts, dude. What is he doing?
I know.
It's the one thing that scares me.
I just feel like there are going to be guys this week who have. Okay, the stomach bug thing scares me, but I don't know.
It does. But let's take it out. Let's take that out for now.
Let's take it out. I just think there are guys like Brooks, for instance, and he makes a lot more sense. But I think there are guys, some obvious names out there who maybe haven't won a major in a while, who have had a history of being successful in majors that might surprise us. And I don't think anybody's talking about Spieth. I don't think he necessarily cracks the top 10 in any of those categories, like tee to green or like,
recently
approach, but like he seems like he's playing really well.
Recently, his tee to green numbers are up there, and it's been his putting numbers have been disastrous.
No, I don't know what's good with that, but like if he's in it, he could totally lock in.
And another thing you're saying, maybe he doesn't need to make as many putts if it's a low scoring, if it's not going to be something that people are scoring.
And like you could see a classic, like crazy, like hole out from Spieth to win it. Like he always wins in a dramatic fashion. So like,
and also like we talk about the rough, we talk about how if you miss these small greens, which people are going to be missing because they're so small.
He's got to be one of the best scramblers in golf history, right? No,
exactly.
So
you hit the head, you hit the net.
The stomach bug thing, you know how I get. Like I'm so superstitious and read into that shit. Like, so I don't know, but I was kind of thinking about him.
From a DFS perspective, last thing I'll say, and then we can move on Spieth. I think this loanership, because of this news, might go down a little bit. I think it might be like 12. Oh no, I already adjusted for that.
It's like buying low and selling
I adjusted for it already. I forgot about that before the show. I did that. That was me using my head. I had him at 16.5. I cut 3 off of him, and I allocated the other 3 elsewhere because we're doing math here. We're not just taking 3 and not
of course
anywhere else. So let's go down here quickly. Because we want to get to some of the longer guys. Quick. Oh, well, actually, one more guy I need to talk about, and then actually 2 more guys. I'm just going to talk because we both like them, so you can talk about them too.
Yeah.
Because they're both on our card. And you can again talk to this is Zalatoris and Cam Young. So.
Oh my God.
Those 2 guys, and I think you're getting them at great prices. I think 93 for Will. He's going to be chalky, but he's chalk I'm willing to eat. And the reason being, and again, Henry and I were talking about this before, he's shown that even if he's not winning in these majors, he's top 10ing or top 5ing in like every major he plays in. He's like played in 9 majors, and I think he has 5
He's
or
the new
top
major king.
5s.
He's the new major king.
Yeah, so he's the major top 5
It's
king.
like, why wouldn't you like
At least put
buy
some. He
into
should
that?
be in your card or in your mix or in your portfolio, whatever you want
Right.
to call
And if
it.
he doesn't like make a run, or if he's not in the mix, then you're like, well, that was a fluke.
Yeah, yeah. He's a guy
But
that he's got to win
I
it.
think you got to touch on what you got going with Cam Young, because it could be too good to get. It could be too good to be true, but I don't know. I got a feeling about that guy.
Yeah, I mean, so I took a nice 200 to 1 future for like $50. So
I don't know.
there's a lot
That's
of juice on it, and I
I
think
can't believe you had him at that line. That's
so. It's actually
I'm telling you, he's like, this guy is gonna play well.
and what's funny is
Watch him
we
finish
just
like
talked about.
plus 25.
Yeah, the guy we just talked about though, Zalatoris, was Cam Young's roommate, right? And Cam Young and Zalatoris, Cam Young to me, and I don't know if you feel the same way, from just watching him play, regardless of what the stats say, watching his composure, he is a killer.
He's like made for it, kind of.
He is he is flat line. He is nothing.
Dude, and
he makes
I
a
have to
birdie.
give you credit, because you were telling me about him at the Genesis when you had that like second place finish or third place finish. I forget what it was, but I mean, I was like, it's this one of those random guys who I haven't heard of just having a good weekend. You're like, I don't know, he's good, and he's been good since then.
And he's been living at the top of the leaderboard.
And like, I don't know, he fits a lot of the statistical categories, and there has to be. I have to say, like, I feel like there's got to be correlation between just like him and Will were both in it, right, in the PGA. Like, I feel like
long,
if
tough
you do well,
course, you needed to drive the ball straight
not so long ago, right? And they're still playing well. Like, I feel like you have to be like kind of made to win a major, and like they were right there.
Yeah, and I agree more. If there was a bet right now, not that there is, for either of those guys to just win a future, I'd throw every amount of money on my bank account on one of those guys to win a major.
Yeah.
If not both of them, dude. I think both of these guys are built for it. They're so young, they've barely played in any majors, and they're just there, like they're already there.
They're going to be like future stars.
Yeah, and we talk about this sometimes, like with Scheffler, and it's funny because this didn't end up coming true. But like, what type of like where would you see some of these guys winning, right? Like, and Zalatoris and Cam Young.
Zalatoris is
if
like,
you were to pick a
perfect.
major, if you're going to pick a major for one of them to win at, I would choose for Zalatoris and for Cam Young. I would think they're most likely to win a US Open.
Also, like Cam Young, you were telling me about, and like I could see it clearly now. Like, not only does he fit those statistical categories, so if you're just going off stats, like you can't not bet the guy, but like he also hits the ball 1,000 miles.
A ton.
And like, I heard supposedly my buddy was telling me like one of his friends was at the practice rounds, and like if you get caught in the rough, you're like not seeing the ball supposedly. And I've seen him get out of the rough and like hit the green many times, almost like an uncomfortable amount of times. And it's like, how this guy even hit it that far from the rough? So, he could be one of those guys who excels if other people are struggling, I feel like, in those conditions.
Yeah. And I think him and Zalatoris have a similar makeup. You're like in regards to their, like exactly what you just said about, Cam, I think applies to Will too. He just drills. They both hit the ball a country mile.
Will, and it's just funny with Will because he's like the scrawniest guy ever.
But yeah, and he kills it.
He's just pure ball striker. Also, I mean, not that this isn't like something that matters, but Zalatoris's like iron play is just gross.
I think he's top 5 right now already iron player in the world.
I used to say it was Colin, but recently I think right now Will might be the guy iron wise. He doesn't seem to miss
him and Justin,
especially if they're small too. Especially if they're small.
Yeah, him and JT. Yeah, so let's move on. We got Fitzpatrick. He's got the US amateur win here. I actually do like him this week. He's going to be a little. Oh, one more thing about Cam
Yeah,
Young.
he's been playing well too.
Yeah, Cam Young's a little bit higher price this week and a little bit lower ownership. So I actually like that in regards to he's been typically 7,000 range. He's 8,800 this week. And he's typically priced more with Mito and that group, which is the 7,800 group. I think he is slightly bumped in terms of price, but he's also lower owned. So you're getting a higher price, but lower owned Cam Young. And I just think his upside is high enough that I'm gonna take
somebody's like, you got to think that there are people that are starting to figure this guy Cam Young out too, because if you got him at 200-1 and he's now what, like 30-1,
55. I think he went
yeah.
back.
I don't know, but like, we're not the only ones who know about him, and I think that in itself like says something. So
yeah, so the 8K range is just loaded, honestly, and a lot of people have been talking about it. So I expect there to be a lot of chalk formulating in the 8K range. So, and all of the guys I really do think I would say I'm not going to get to Horschel, even though he's not going to be like that highly played. He doesn't really he's great, right? And he's won tournaments, right? And he just and he's finished decently in majors, but I don't know if he's ever top 10 a major, and he's 8,600. And
yeah,
I would rather take the upside that Cam Young has not playing in any majors at potentially the same ownership. So I'm only saying that because he's going to be less owned. Hatton, not a lot of people are going to play. He's playing in the PMAM group. I'm a big Hatton guy. I actually am. But he's a big complainer. And he's in the bad wave. And I think I've had enough of him. And I just think that I'm not getting enough. I think Homa, Finau, Burns, Berger, Fitzpatrick are all better plays, regardless of the ownership.
I was telling you that I liked those three guys were like the last three guys on the top of your list. I think all three of those names, and not touching everybody. If you talk about, we talked about Brooks, Rory, Rahm, and then we talked about, Cam Young, Zalatoris. I think other guys in that mid tier to kind of higher tier range that you could get good value on. I think Burns, Finau, and Homa are all guys you have to consider.
Yep, I agree. So we agree.
Finau also smacks the ball too. He could get out of the rough pretty well. It seems.
Who'd you say?
Finau.
Oh yeah, dude. Remember? I don't know if you remember the video.
Yeah, that you sent me, and he hit it 500 yards.
It was out of the rough. Shot. It was an iron, and it was first of all, it sounded like a gunshot when it went off.
And I think Finau, and we talk about this though, I think Finau's more of a good top 5 play.
And for DFS though, like we were saying, that's all you need. And he's a cheap price, and he's finished well at US Opens before. A guy we didn't so I agree with everything with Tony and the other guys he said. And Homa, we've said before that the only reason we haven't liked Homa before is because he hasn't played well at majors. Well, guess what? His last couple majors, he's actually started to play well and play better. So I'm not as
he's a guy too that I could just see winning a US Open.
I agree.
So
Bryson, I'm just not going to play him. He's just I just don't see it.
Shot.
I just don't see if he wins this week, I'll never bet on another golf tournament again in my life. And by that I mean by that I mean I'll be doing lineups for the Travelers by next week.
Yeah.
But just no, I can't. Regardless of his ownership, regardless of his price, he's shown me nothing lately, literally nothing. So
I don't think he's there by any means.
He's in the live where he's living in the live. He don't blink. I think he's blanking. I like Weiss, I like Connors, I like Perea, I like Fleetwood, but I think they're all going to garner a lot of ownership. That doesn't matter from your betting card perspective. So if you want a longer shot guy, I think any of these guys, And what I like about them quickly, Connors and Henry mentioned him. He's been playing well. He's just like, he
Yeah.
just hits the ball straight. He's just literally an arrow. He just like hits the ball in the fairway and then he puts it on the green. And it just
He, I
does
think,
it all
is
the
just
time.
somebody who's on the verge of winning something. He's so due. But
And
like
even if he
Finau,
doesn't,
could,
he's like a Finau. He's gonna like he could
he's a
finish
great
top 10
top
and like
five,
for
top
DFS,
10. Yeah,
it's fine.
absolutely.
Weiss, who we've been fanboys of, he just like
Team no putt, right?
yeah, same thing with Connors. But he's just straight. He just nails the ball and then he puts it on the green and
I
small
would probably
greens.
have to pick Connors over Weiss, though. Like if I were to pick one of the two, just
I'm gonna
based
be
on
I'm gonna go Weiss over Connors, and you're probably gonna be
okay.
right, and I'm probably gonna be wrong. And the only reason I'm gonna do it is two things.
I mean,
Connors,
I don't hate that either. I think Weiss has been in pretty good form, but I
but no,
just
only
going
from
off
DFS.
feel.
Only from DFS. I'm saying because Connors is gonna be higher owned.
Yeah,
And he's $100 more, and he's in the bad wave, and Weiss is in the good wave. So if I'm
fair
gonna have to
enough.
just cut down my player pool, that's how I'm gonna do it. But I don't think for anybody else, I don't think Connors is a bad play. I think Connors is a good play.
Yeah.
I can only play so many people, and I happen to just like have another. It's not only like the fact that I like him, he just like has been finishing in any tournament he plays, like in the top 25, and it's Mito. And then Fleetwood again. He just talk about a guy that's like plays tough courses well, and like you don't need to win. None of these guys have like won a lot of tournaments, but you don't
Oh.
need any of these guys to win a lot of tournaments. I mean, Burns, who we talked about, I think could win this tournament. I like very much like, but we're further down now. You don't necessarily need a guy who's 7K in your lineup who's going to
No,
win.
I agree. But just speaking on that, like quickly, I think Burns for sure has
Oh, well,
shown
he's
that he
eight.
can
He's
win
eight.
tournaments.
He's 8-3. That's why I was differentiating.
And I think he's a great outright bet. Like I just think straight up, like he's right there with all those other guys.
He's just balling out right now. He just plain and simple. And
Super confident.
we talk about like this is just a course you can't really fake it around. Burns is the type of guy, and he does do things well. So don't take this like literally, but he doesn't necessarily do anything great, but he doesn't do anything bad.
No, he kind of like, I don't know. To me, he's kind of got like a little bit of scrambler in him for sure.
That's what I'm saying. He's great around
Yeah.
the green. He's a good putter. He hits the ball a ton. Pretty good with his wedges.
He's got it all. I
Yeah.
think he's got a
He's
complete
young.
game.
He's winning. So another guy, right? We talk about how there's this there is just a youth overtaking in golf right now. And I think I love looking at previous US Open stats and stuff like that. But Burns, I just think has the upside. And if you're going to say he hasn't played well in a US Open before, that's fine. I'm going to say I also think he's a misprice at 8,300. You're telling me Sam Burns, who's won 3 times this year, should be less than Matt Fitzpatrick, who's never
Burns has got to be played. Also, like just straight up based on what you're talking about, like what has Fitzpatrick won? And like look at like
ever. He hasn't won on the PGA Tour ever.
Yeah.
But again, not a guy you need to win. So, but from a betting perspective, if you're just, and the thing is, like Fitzpatrick's like crazy line this week on the betting market, he's like 20-1. It's because everybody loves the US amateur narrative, and I get it. He won the US amateur here, but a US amateur is going to be a lot different than a USGA set up US Open.
And it's two different things exactly. Like if Fitzpatrick won, I would sleep totally fine if that were the case. Like I wouldn't have many regrets about it. No offense to Matt Fitzpatrick. I'm sure he's a great guy, but like
yeah, and we like Fitzpatrick. I like him. I think you don't mind him. It's nothing.
No, yeah. I just like straight up, like you can't pick everybody. He's not a guy that I usually go for outright.
And Burns and Homa both kind of have that winner, like they've won more.
Oh,
and then if you want to pay up, a little more, you can get Brooks, Cam Young, and another guy we didn't really talk about that, but we both like, Neiman. So we'll go down to the 7Ks here quickly, and then we'll get out of here in the 6K. So everybody's been saying there's not a lot of good 6K plays. I agree. Quickly to give them out, my favorite two, for whatever it's worth. I like Brandon Grace at 6,900, who has played incredibly well in US Opens before. He finished top 10 in the live event last week, which probably means nothing, but it doesn't mean any. It does. It's. I mean, it doesn't not like. I mean, top 10 in an event. I'll take that. And he's
Lineup wise, I'm always into Grace for sure.
yeah. He also shot a 6. He has the lowest open. He has the lowest shot round at a US Open ever.
Yeah.
Another guy like that we like, both of us like, we've just kind of been a guy like his, because he used to be so good, and like it's weird that he's gone away for so long, but he's recently shown a little bit. I like Frankie Molinari at 6,900 as a little bit of a long shot.
Oh yeah. I was looking at him. His name definitely popped out. I just think the only thing you have to think about is like, I feel like an old Frankie Molinari for sure. It's just like there are too many guys right now for me to like be able to.
Oh, but yeah, these are just bombs for DFS.
But like lineup, like I could see him having a couple good rounds. It just seemed like he's faded.
Oh yeah,
recent tournaments where he's like kind of came back, and you're like, wow, is he back? And then you're like, where did he go? So
that's very true. He has, you know what he's done a lot this year. He's played tournaments where he's played 3 great rounds. And the one round and not only has the one round he played not been good, it's been like dog shit. Like
which you know who makes me think of who we were talking about a little bit as probably a great lineup play, probably a good,
oh yeah, let's
top
talk.
5,
I missed
top
him.
10, top 20 bet, but also an awesome first round leader bet if you're looking to make some quick money would probably be HV3.
I love the HV3.
I don't know what it is. I feel like every tournament, not every, but a lot of tournaments, it's like, you know, you play these first round leader bets and then Harold Varner shoots like -9. You're like, is this guy really here again?
What the fuck just happened?
Where did he come from? This guy's unbelievable in the first round.
It's true. He's a guy, and I actually like Varner, so I hope he gets over this, but he's a guy who just kind of seems to have a little bit of the yips on the Sundays.
He won't be a guy that I bet outright, but I certainly am thinking about betting him first round leader.
Yeah, and I think you're right for DFS. I think for DFS, he's a great play. So I think two things quickly, and then we can get out of here. I think Sungjae is the biggest misprice on the board, and a
lot of people talking about him.
No, he's gonna be the most play. I think he might be the most played guy in DFS. He could be the highest owned guy because of his price. So I'm gonna play him. I'm gonna match the field on his weight. There's people. I normally go 2x the field on whatever the lineup. So he's gonna be higher than 18.5. I didn't adjust everything from yesterday. I adjusted Spieth and a few others, but I must not have gotten down here. I think I saw on FanShare he was at 24. I think he's going to level out to be like 23.5, 24 probably % for Sungjae. But
you're right on the Sungjae. Like Sungjae's also a stud. Like, let's just be honest. Like, he's straight up just a baller.
He just shouldn't be priced lower than
he could win a tournament too, man. Like
he shouldn't be priced
majors. Was he not?
He shouldn't be priced lower than be priced lower than Aaron Weiss. He shouldn't be priced lower than Corey Connors. Honestly, he should be priced higher than Bryson as of right now.
I mean, I like it. Like you said, if Bryson wins or does well, I will probably be done.
Bryson could be $0 this week. Bryson could be $0 this week, and I could put him in my lineup for $0, and I wouldn't fucking play him.
Fuck Bryson, man. Honestly, fuck him.
So, wait, there was one other guy. Oh yeah, the last guy. And I don't know how he's not going to be the chalkiest guy. So don't like, but he's not. I don't think he's also going to be low owned. But I do like. Wait, did I say Harman? Harman and Keegan Bradley. And Harman's best major, if you look back, has been the US Open. He's had like,
and I do like Harman.
He had 2 top 10s at US Open. So he also finished 18th at the Memorial, which was the last tournament he played in. So he has a little form. And he hits the ball. He's just another guy who's just going to put the ball in the fairway like every single time off of the tee. So at 7,000 for what, and he's going to be, I think, a little not too highly owned. I'm gonna take some rolls of the dice on him, and then Keegan. I was saying this to Henry. He's a Vermont guy. Tournaments in Boston. Vermont and Boston are different places.
New
But he's close
Hampshire,
by.
New England guy.
Vermont is a, in New England as well, as some people might know if they look at a fucking map. And he also went to school at St. John's. So I only say this because
Johnny's baby. Shout out
he's grown up and he's played courses in the Northeast, right? And that people who don't think that matters are just wrong. Like they're everybody. There's.
I mean, Keegan Bradley's won a major. He did very well at the Players. Like he's, you can say what you want about him. He's a good golfer.
He's finished 4th at the U.S. Open before. He's not the same Keegan Bradley he was, but like you said, he was top 10 at like you said, okay, maybe he's not the same player as he was before, but he just was top 10 at the Players. That's the toughest field in golf in the entire year.
Dude, I thought for a second he was going to win the Players.
I did too, dude. If he won the Players, I would be, I might be sitting on the beach right now somewhere, but that's story for another day.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, so that's it. We'll wrap it up here. It's 10. It's getting late. I think we did an hour. It was great to have Henry on. I'm excited for the US Open.
Thanks for having me.
A few little last minute lineup adjustments to make because I'm a psychopath and like I look at this stuff until literally I have the phone in my hand and I'm asleep. I'm making like adjustments. And then I'll wake up tomorrow morning. I'll open my password and the first thing I'll be looking at is the fucking lineup I didn't complete from the night before because I fell asleep with the phone in my hand. So I need to get up. I started. It's part of the reason I didn't mention this before. And before we get out of here, I haven't been doing the show. I started a new job, and I just was like waiting, honestly, during this process and getting the new job to do another show. I was also down in South Carolina. I don't know what goes. I've never like gone for a new job. I don't know what goes on with this stuff. So just chilled out for a little while, laid back, whatever. I was doing my golf thing. I finished 80th at the Millie Maker at the PGA, which nobody probably heard about because I didn't I haven't been doing the show. If Mito won, I probably would have finished top 20. I was in 21st on Sunday. So it was the second time I've been in the top 25 on Sunday in the Millie Maker this year, the biggest Millie Maker they do in terms of the number of people you're going against. So we're having continued success. I am going to sleep tonight. Like I do this every week and it's sickening. But it's part of the reason I love the DFS. I'm like going to sleep and I'm like, I'm winning $1 million this week, which probably very unlikely, but I
wouldn't say so. Hey, we've been knocking on the door, right?
We have been. So hopefully we get one this week or, something somewhere.
Something's going to fall this week. If it doesn't, then you won't be hearing from me, or I will not be coming back on the show anytime soon.
Yeah, I'll be laying low for a while around here. There might be another break period in terms of time for the next show. So, but potentially some exciting stuff coming next week. So more to come on that next week. I'll leave you guys with that and good luck this week. Lineups, outrights, whatever you're doing, first round leaders, do a little bit of everything. And let's make a little money this week.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Later.
Still recording.